Yeah, I got to update my contact links. See, the thing is, what's great about this, guys, if you're doing this at the same time I am, it's exposing things that you can fix in a moment's notice. And that's the whole goal of the Money Mindset podcast, Money Mindset Mentoring podcast, is that we have conversations here that matter. And Mark, you're dropping bombs, man. This is amazing. I love it. So we've got those three things. Then the next thing you talked a little bit about was content. So if you got that perfect page, was there anything we missed on the perfect page before we leave?
I could go for hours on this.
Oh, I know.
This meeting is being recorded.
And welcome back to the Money, the Mindset, and the Mentoring podcast. Today we've got Mark here, and Mark Halpert is an expert. And when I talk expert, I mean true expert when it comes to the one thing that I can say with absolute conviction that I am not on, which is LinkedIn. Even when we did the preamble, I'm like, so we're going to crush it on Instagram. And he's like, no.
This is
Mark,
people
welcome.
aren't on Instagram, just like I told you before.
I love it. I love it. So it's one of those things where as the neophyte goes to Instagram, you know, whether it's in real estate, mortgages, if you have a construction business, and you look at it, and to be honest, not to knock LinkedIn, but man, that thing is so incredibly confusing. And to have you on the show to be able to start to demystify it and help people understand, yes, it is something that can actually be tamed, and it's something that we can use because we're so used to that simplicity of some of the other platforms. The missed opportunity is what you're talking about. I mean, you wrote books on it, and clearly I've been to networking groups where like everybody in this group, the second somebody even says LinkedIn, all eyes go towards you. And so to have you on the show, I really appreciate having you today.
Well, it's nice to be here, and it's nice to clear the fog, because LinkedIn, God bless it, creates its own fog around itself. So if I may pontificate a bit, first of all, if you think Microsoft is easy to use, you know how hard it is to use. It did not help that Microsoft bought LinkedIn. So they came as the white knight to make it simpler. And what did they do? They made it more complex. 165 changes to LinkedIn in 2023 alone. We're up in the 70 different changes in 2024 alone.
Sorry, how many in 2024?
100, well, it's up to 70 right now this year.
Wow.
And not big stuff, but enough to make people crazy. So let me cut through the bull, okay? There's actually two things. One, have a great LinkedIn profile. Why? Because you don't know who's looking at your profile until they either engage with you or they don't engage with you and they've left and you didn't even get a chance to talk about yourself in a way that they might want to know more. So you blew it if they left. If they engage with you, you get one more chance when they engage with you. And they have to hear the exact same thing coming out of your mouth as it's coming from LinkedIn. So you want to write your profile well the way you speak. And I speak with my hands, as you can see. I talk LinkedIn with my hands. So I put my hands down so I'm not distracting anybody. The second thing is you can have a beautiful LinkedIn profile. But if you don't put something on LinkedIn every other day or so, you are forgotten. And that is not just put anything up, that is put great material up.
So when we hit two things, and I want to hit those two separately, if that's okay. First of all, you talk about a great LinkedIn page. What defines a great LinkedIn page? Like what would you say if you went to somebody's page and said, okay, I'm the LinkedIn guy, I'm impressed. So what does that look like?
A, you have a great headline underneath your name. That is not president at XYZ mortgage company or president at XYZ real estate company. That doesn't tell me anything. I don't care. I want to know how you can help me, the reader. You get 220 characters, including spaces, to tell your life story. Now that's hard. But you got to start somewhere. It's like the headline on a newspaper article. You're rushing to the train, the bus, whatever and you just don't know which newspaper you're going to buy. You're going to pick up the one that resonates with you best. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to cook them into wanting to know more. Then they go to the about section, which is like your elevator pitch. And you get a lot of space there. You get 2,600 characters, including spaces. And you better tell all that you told up above at your headline, why that's important to the reader. And then they're going to say, oh, if that's important to me, where did this guy come from? Where did this woman come from? Well, you're going to tell your history, your work history, and not what you did and how many millions of dollars you sold and how many thousands of clients you have. Numbers don't matter because they have nothing to compare against. You talk about why you persevered, why you succeeded. And
So
if you're going to tell factoids, you're wrong. They don't care. You're going to use the pronoun I as if you're speaking to them.
So I'm actually right now just taking what you, and listeners probably do the same thing. What I would do is as we're going through this, if you are happy, like if you're driving, please don't do this. But if you are sitting at your computer and you're just working away, have your LinkedIn profile up as we go through this. Like that would be a really good suggestion because I think he's dropping really good nuggets here. I mean, let's face it, and this will be changed by the time hopefully you listen to this. But I'm going to my profile right now and I haven't done any of that. I've fallen into all the traps that you think LinkedIn is what you're supposed to do. And so
let me give you number 3. Look at your contact details. Steve, you don't have a phone number on your contact details.
I don't.
How the hell am I supposed to get a hold of you by text or by phone?
I know. And I've got a beautiful AI phone number people can text too. It works out beautifully. And I should have that up.
So my job is not to embarrass you. It's just to point out to you, you're in such good company about people don't have any information about themselves, about how to get a hold of them. And if I fall in like with you based upon what I see on your profile, how am I supposed to get a hold of you?
So I will be very clear about this right now. I am not embarrassed because what I'm doing is I'm surrounding myself with experts. And so
Good.
there's nothing to be embarrassed about surrounding yourself with experts.
Okay.
There's a saying that I really like. And the saying is this, is that asking for help is not giving up. What asking for help is being so committed to your goals that you're willing to check your ego at the door and just go out and ask for help. So this is great. Like picking away at my LinkedIn profile is the best thing ever because I love being underneath the microscope because then I can become better. It is the best way to do it.
And I get people who say to me, oh, they'll find me. No, they won't. They will not spend an extra second trying to find you. They'll go to your competitor. So you are in the competitive game. Your rates and your prices and whatever you use as your pricing mechanism is as good as the next person. They're buying human customer service. They're buying with their hearts and their minds and mostly their hearts because that's what branding is all about.
Yep.
And if they can't find you, you're lost. You'll never know the opportunity you missed.
So before we look on the finding side of things, because I want to hit the first thing, which is so summarize the 3 one more time, because my hopes are is people have their LinkedIn profiles up right now, sitting on their page, and they're ready to hear those 3 things. What were the 3 things again they need to look at on their page?
Headline right underneath your name.
Perfect.
Not president at XYZ firm. No. 220 characters to say how you can help somebody. We're using keywords. Where is it that you have your expertise?
So if I were a real estate agent and I'm listening to this podcast and I'm saying, hey, what would I do? Because a lot of real estate agents don't realize the value of LinkedIn. A lot of them don't, right? But after our conversation beginning, you're like, guys, you got to dial in on this thing. And so first of all, okay, so what would be a sample of something they might put up in the beginning component?
Experienced real estate broker with deep roots in metropolitan Toronto area and suburbs for homeowners who are looking for the easiest, best experience in their biggest investment.
Beautiful.
Ooh, and I made that up off the top of my head. Okay.
That's right.
I'm not even in real estate.
So now we have that. And you know what? If you can't figure it out, there's this thing called ChatGPT. You can use it as a starting point to give you some ideas so you can start fleshing it out. If you can't, what I would do is I would probably just scan one of those codes and give them a call. That's probably what I would do. That's my personal opinion. Because that's what I'm doing.
May I disagree? And that is ChatGPT is not here to tell you how you help other people. I know. You are here to tell us how you help other people. If you can't express it, you need to have a serious conversation with yourself about why you do what you do.
You know, the thing is, and that's actually a really solid point. One of the things that I have the biggest thing that when I work on with, for example, with people with their podcast, right, is, so what's your offer? What do you do? And they just stare at you like with deer in headlights. And if you can't explain your offer, how can your audience understand what your offer is?
Thank you.
And so I'm with you 100%, but sometimes people need a little bit of prodding.
Oh,
And that's just like, let me have the 5 things so to pull it out. And if you need that, that's what I would do, but you definitely need to hone that offer. So, okay. So we've got the number one, which is looking at the headline. What's number two?
okay, let's go back quickly to all of this. Go to your biggest competitor, the most successful competitor you have, and see what they have, and use keywords that they're keying on that you could be using. Take style points from other people. I've been doing that for 23 years on my skills. I love to emulate good people who are smarter than me and pick up words that make me shine and eclipse the competition. That's a word we use a lot this week. Eclipse the competition.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
And number two.
And number two is your about section. And most people don't even have an about section. So you're missing this grand opportunity. You're confined to 220 characters up above. You have 2,600 characters below to talk about why you do what you do. Where did you get your vision? How did you earn your stripes? Make people want to pick up the phone or send you an email or whatever they're going to send you. And the third thing,
now, do you find putting links in the about works, or should not put links in the about?
No links.
No links in the about.
Links go in your contact details, and we'll get to that. That's number 4 of the 3.
Perfect.
Number 3 is your experience. So they read your about section, they read your headline, read your about. Where did this person come from? What did they learn? How long have they been in the industry? Where do they work? Who do they know that I know? All this stuff is in your experience section. And that seals the deal. That makes them want to contact you because they like what they saw. Now, then they want to contact you. Back to the contact details. Make it easy. Make your website there. Put your blog there. Put your Instagram there. Put whatever other social medium you use there as well. You get lots of opportunity, but put a phone number and put an email address. And please check all your links to be sure they're live and correct links, because there's nothing like a 404 to make somebody say, that's a 404 I'm not going to contact.
And yeah, I got to update my contact links. See, the thing is, what's great about this, guys, if you're doing this at the same time I am, it's exposing things that you can fix in a moment's notice. And that's the whole goal of the Money Mindset podcast, Money Mindset Mentoring podcast, is that we have conversations here that matter. And Mark, you're dropping bombs, man. This is amazing. I love it. So we've got those 3 things. Then the next thing you talked a little bit about was content. So if you got that perfect page, was there anything we missed on the perfect page before we leave?
I could go for hours on this.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But those are the 4 most important sections to ace. Everything else is gravy. What your certifications are, what are your publications, anywhere you've been on a blog or podcast or whatever, any place where you are quoted to make you an expert, honors and awards, languages you speak. Sometimes you can even, if you speak a certain dialect of a language, you can get the entire community to buy from you. I've seen that over and over again. Show me pictures, show me action, show me video. There are places to put all of that throughout LinkedIn. You can't mess it up, folks. It's there for you to ace. And you're never going to ace it the first time. You need to come back to it and tweak it and tweak it and tweak it, because you are constantly changing. Your market is constantly changing. And you need to put it on your calendar every quarter to take a thorough review of your LinkedIn profile to be sure it resonates with who you are today.
I love it. Okay. And I think the idea of scheduling that in your calendar and saying, this is the date, this is the time, this is sitting in my calendar. I'm going to take this amount of time to, hour, 2 hours, whatever. The difference that can make is huge. And I think that's a great idea. I love that. And so once they've got and honed on their page, you're talking about content. Let's talk a little bit about content and maybe the difference of the style of content that people need to focus on. Everybody thinks about their, the other ones, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Twitters, and all these other ones that people are posting on. LinkedIn is very different. And to succeed in LinkedIn, what are the things they need to focus on to create great content that actually catches?
Okay. There are 4 major ways to add content on LinkedIn. What do I know that you need to know as well? Something I read, something I came up with on my own, something I'm working on, something I just landed, some podcasts I'm on that I just finished recording, some presentation I'm putting the final tweaks to, the slide deck, whatever. Tell people you're active. Tell them you're thinking, moving all the time. You're never
Yep.
still.
Yep.
The second is, now that I know this and I want you to know it, what do I feel that you need to feel as well? I can't put my finger on the trend in the market, but I sense that this is happening. This is what I think is going on. What do you think? Are you feeling this? Are you seeing this? Are you any evidence to that? Create conversation around that. People want to tell you what they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've told you what I know that you don't know, now that I told you what you feel that you don't feel, this is what you really ought to believe. And I'm going to tell you something you've never seen anywhere else or heard anywhere else. That's what I'm doing with you right now. Okay.
Absolutely.
People say, I just saw this person tell me something I believe that I never thought in that way. And the fourth thing is your call to action. And you should end every single piece that you put out there, every post, call to action. Please share this with 15 of your best friends. Please tell me if you agree or disagree with me, and let's have a conversation. What do you think? Is this something that you're feeling, seeing, believing, understanding? And I have a group of colleagues, we all comment on each other's posts every single day. And it creates conversation. Why is that important? Because everybody that knows me and connected to me sees their posts. Because I'm posting, I'm adding to theirs. And everybody they know seeing my post, they're adding to mine.
Yeah.
And it goes in tentacles all over the place.
Well, that's very similar to podcasting. I mean, when I'm in your ecosystem, I'm going to be posting links out to you. You'll share those posts. Those links are going to yours. And, that creates that growth. I know that for the podcast, that's how we're able to scale it up so quickly, so fast, and using the same methodology. It's funny because it always goes back to this idea. And the idea always is that principles are always senior to mechanics. And what we're doing is we're applying the same principles just precisely with mechanics. And those mechanics, I think, are they're something that's specific to LinkedIn, but the principles are universal across all the platforms in the sense that you have to have those four. I think those four pillars are useful in all of them. Am I wrong?
We do in every way that we engage with other people, because we have to get their attention. There's so much noise. We want them to completely bland out everything. Everybody we compete with, they only want to listen to Steve. They only want to listen to Mark for the areas we are expert in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not easy because you have to know your market so well. And it's not a matter of I'll throw it on the wall and hope it sticks, because you will throw yourself on the wall and you'll never stick. No one will care because you're so full of it that people will say, there's nothing here for me to spend time with. Our time is so short.
Well, I think when you say, the idea is that they could be out looking at the news. They could be out on Instagram. They could be out on TikTok. They could be out on, wherever. They could be on, they could be thinking about their spouse. They could be, the amount of inputs that we get in a day is got to be 100x what the inputs were 50 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And so you're competing with all of those, let alone your competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you're going to put out content and that content doesn't catch, it's because it's not just your competitors, it's everything else that they can find interesting that's going to compete with them paying attention to what you're putting out.
See, the thing is, you may buy a house with somebody, you may lease an office space with somebody, and then they're gone because you won't care about them anymore until somebody says, hey, I need somebody who, and that's when the Rolodex in their head starts flip, 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 and they go back to you. How do I get a hold of that person? You go find them on LinkedIn, and there it all is. Your entire mini website sitting there, not copy pasted from your website. You're talking to a different audience than your website when you talk on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your high net worth individuals, highest educated of most major social media. I mean, there's all sorts of studies that get done. People open LinkedIn on their desk and they leave it open all day long. They don't necessarily do that with the other social media.
Well, the noise that comes through the other social medias is quite heavy.
Of course,
And so, and the distractions, I think anybody who wants to manage distractions knows that if you're going to go into Instagram, I mean, I go in for a production perspective, I go for creator, I don't go in for consuming. And so, if you go into LinkedIn, or Instagram, you get drawn into this, which is, it doesn't do anything for anybody. Whereas what you're saying is the LinkedIn, you're going to have number one, a higher net worth audience, and number two, you're going to have people who have some stickiness to it when
absolutely.
they get in. Yeah,
1 billion people, by the way, not just a small group of people.
yeah.
And people who are movers and shakers in every industry in the world, every country in the world.
So
Amazing.
I want to pivot on the person for a moment, the creator element of it. And I always like to think when you're getting into a platform, you've got to look at what your perfect avatar is of your perfect client. And so if I'm a consumer, I'm going to LinkedIn to consume data, not to produce, but I'm trying to find something, or I'm just interacting with the data. What is somebody typically, what does that look like for them? Because if you can understand that, I think again, sort of the DNA of what your perfect avatar is.
Everything that is a search function on LinkedIn is keyed off of keywords. You got to
Mm.
figure out what your keywords are. And those sections I mentioned on LinkedIn, those are the primary keyword sensitive areas that the search will find you. The more keywords you use, and I'm not saying pack them with keywords so that it's impossible to read as a human, but pack them with intelligent conversation with keywords that their antenna go up and they say, okay, and I just won a huge piece of business as a result of my keywords. It can be done. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Was I in the right place at the right time? Isn't that what most businesses anyway? So
Absolutely.
I will take every opportunity I have to win a piece of business. And I won this one with my keywords. I tell that story because she found me, she called me, she said, I read your profile after I found you on the search with keywords that we used. I
Yep.
said, what keywords were they? She goes, I don't know. There were so many. You hit all the ones we wanted. So that tells me I don't care what they were. That's fine.
Yep.
And the conversation went from there because she got the real me from the search after she looked for me in an impersonal manner. She got the personal side.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I think when you have those connections that happen in an online, and I've had it happen actually on LinkedIn where I mean, it wasn't somebody I didn't know, it was somebody I did know that I hadn't connected with in a long time. Because again, I'm the neophyte on LinkedIn. And so, but they reached out to me, they sent me a message, and they're like, hey, I see you're doing this. Let's get connected, talking about podcasting. And because I've been thinking about for my business, and just having that there, but came to my content because I was on this one show here, I put out this one show there, and I guess somehow they got I don't know how it works in the back end, but the content side did work from that perspective, and then they did reach out and have something happen, so that was good, and they
Yeah.
became a client, which is great.
And think about how you project yourself on LinkedIn and how you use your words. Do not use fifth grade verbs, has, was, made, did. I mean, come on, folks, we're smarter than that these days. People want to buy intelligence and experience. They don't want to buy somebody who's green behind the ears or wet behind the ears. I don't know. It is about the best way you can tell your own career narrative. Do not shortchange yourself, or else someone will tell the story for you and you will not like what they said.
So
You get to say
one
it.
of the biggest differences you're saying, because we hear the opposite on some of the other platforms. The other platforms talk about the idea that you have to speak in the fifth grader to create reach to the audience. What you're saying is that to reach the audience effectively on LinkedIn, to have that higher approach of using a higher level of language, you're going to connect better with your audiences on LinkedIn. So it's different.
It is a different animal, different audience. Use color, action, and motion to reinforce the colorful, actionable, motional verbs you use. So people see the correlation between the video or the graphic, static graphic that goes with your post that augments what you said there.
Mm.
You
Well, even
can't,
just using correlation and augment, now we're in a different capacity completely. So,
yeah, we're talking better their brain, the buying side of their brain, right?
mm,
Eclipse the competition who's left in the dust doing the pre-pandemic boring LinkedIn posts and profile.
Well, I think most people that I know who are not successful on LinkedIn, I think success follows attention, right? And I think the first problem that they run into is they just don't pay attention to it. And so, that's the first and foremost that I see as a huge challenge, present company included. But that's going to shift. And so when you look at that and you say, okay, now we're going to start paying attention, then we're saying, okay, first thing we're going to do is make sure the profile looks great. We're going to follow those three items. Then we're going to look at the content and we're going to put content out following those four principles. What's the next thing that they have to do? Is there anything else that they need to do to, I know there's events. I've seen some success with events on LinkedIn, and posting events. That's probably the one thing that I've used the most on LinkedIn is events. What are some of the other things that people need to really hone in on?
Well, there's LinkedIn Learning, which is an entire body of knowledge that you can access to learn skills that you never even thought you needed, and you can get certified in them. And so if you have certifications, that means a lot to certain people because it shows you put the intellectual fortitude into it. You put the time into it. You may have gotten awards and honors from your peers. Just don't tell me you got an award. Tell me why you beat 250 other competitors and what thought process went into giving you that award and that honor. What organizations do you belong to? What leadership roles do you play in those organizations? Whether it's local, province, statewide, national, international. What are you giving back to your industry? Or are you just taking it all in? You can be on a take it in basis, young, new in the industry. If you've left one industry and went to another, tell us why and what transferable skills you took from one to the next. This is revolutionary thought to some people. I am here to convert the heathen. My job is to tell people how they can do better and make them want to do better. And when they contact me later and say, I got a piece of business I was hired for because you suggested, you coached me, you wrote about, that's not about me. It means they absorbed and used in a transferable skill something I showed them a new way to do.
No, I normally in the podcast don't ask what people do. I mean, certainly people have offers and that sort of thing, which is great. But if somebody were to hire somebody like yourself from a LinkedIn perspective, like what are they hiring you to do? What is the task that they're putting you on to get to where they need to go?
I have really three legs to the stool that my business is in. One is person-to-person coaching, which I absolutely love. Taking somebody from 0 to 60 and leaving them at the end of 4-hour-and-a-half sessions, 90-minute sessions, and they know exactly how to proceed going forward. It's a process. It's a journey for some people. I learn about things that people have or not done in their career, and they really want to address them because they didn't, or they want to let everybody know they did, and they don't know how else to do it. They can't get it out of themselves. We're taught not to talk about ourselves. I'm the coach who prods them to talk more about themselves. Or I can go into a firm or a company or a department of a company and train in a group session. But then I don't go away. Then they have to come see me one by one 2 weeks later for half-hour presentation about what they want to show as a draft on their revised LinkedIn profile. It keeps the marketing tight because I've worked with the marketing department of the firm to be sure that everybody's mostly on the same page. They're just using their own personal mentality to say something different. And the
So
third thing
that's actually, I'm going to jump in. That's actually a wonderful thing for a real estate office or a mortgage brokerage or a loans office, because there's a lot of compliance that has to happen.
Yeah.
And so if you're going into the office, I mean, financial planners, hello. So if you're going into a financial, what's that?
Lawyers for all
Lawyers.
that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're right there. Lawyers. Exactly. And so if you're going to the marketing department saying what meets compliance, and then you're going out to the individual and saying, we're going to group teach you, but we're going to make sure that you have your personal sizzle, but it fits within the compliance of the organization. That's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I taught a really large, I can't even mention the name of the company, global corporate real estate company. They brought their entire group together in a podcast, and we all talked about what they can and cannot do, but what they have to do as a group. Really eye-opening for a lot of them. It was great. It was a great session, but then they had to come to me later after they absorbed and tore apart what I taught them about how it works for them in their market, in their city, in their country, because it was global. And their cultural differences. I mean, talking to Japanese is different than talking to Americans, is different than talking to Germans. It's for me, it's the best fun I ever had. So when the whole company is on a page, on one page, literally, the company looks really organized, as
Oh,
opposed
it's
to
beautiful.
it's doing all this crazy stuff.
I was doing a sales training session for an organization, and they're an amazing organization. But I look at something like that, and I'm like, when I went to all the LinkedIn pages, yeah, they definitely had a lot of deviation. And because that goes to the idea, and this is the one thing I want to kind of close off with. When you're in that situation, and the organization is saying, "Okay, guys, we're all going to get on the same page with our LinkedIn profiles," how much do you get fight back with the individual saying, "No, no, no, this belongs to me, not to the company," and so that they don't want to follow the brand of the organization. They still want to remain it with theirs, not with the organization's brand identity.
So I head that off at the pass, so to speak. I go to the highest level officer of the company, typically the person who signs my contract. I says, thank you for signing the contract. Now the next thing you need to do is communicate this down to everybody in the organization. They are not getting the option to attend. They are mandatory required to attend. They're not getting the option to do or not do something. This is a company-wide effort. And that means that there will be some things they cannot say because it either breaks company culture or industry requirements or legal compliance. Are we on
Yeah.
the same page, folks? And
Well, I think the other thing too is there's, I believe just as much the stick is important, the carrot, holds a lot of value. And in the idea that if they are in brand congruency, the idea for being in brand congruency is for their benefit. If they're in sales of like a pharmaceutical company, the idea is that brand congruency gives them value so that they can benefit from the organizations pushing into their ecosystem to help them grow. If they're in HR or whatever, again, by having that, it allows to build them out their personal brand by leveraging they always say standing on the shoulder of giants is you're using the organization's brand value to build you up. And if you can coherently put those two things together, the value that you're going to get as the individual and the value that the corporation is going to get by having a unified front. I mean, I think there's exponential results that can happen out of that.
let me add the third leg of the stool, and that is anything else that you're trying to do that LinkedIn's knowledge base or database could help you. I do special projects. I've done crazy special projects with people or companies or organizations that they never thought that data was there. I'm looking for high net worth individuals who are interested in gardening and horticulture so I can fill rooms on a riverboat traveling from Amsterdam to Belgium during a certain global flower expo that happens once every 10 years. How do I find those people?
Did you actually do that?
I did that. That was fun.
That's so specific.
I'm holding a conference. It's this topic. It's a really narrow topic. We're looking for everybody to come together to talk about this topic. Where do I find them? It's not just plunk in the keywords. It's keywords
No.
and refining because dirty search is nothing. Clean, interesting search, narrowed search is really where the stuff is. The good stuff is. So
That
these
is
are the
so
three legs of the stool that I like. I write, I speak, I keynote, I hold sessions, I do. I mean, I can't stop talking about it because I have seen incredible success for people who did not expect to get what they got. It is a power tool waiting to be used correctly. If you juggle a chainsaw, you're gonna get hurt. Okay.
Well, I am definitely fired up more for my LinkedIn. And it's definitely something, hopefully by the time people listen that they'll see a change and it'll be completely different when they go to my LinkedIn profile. If not, send me a message saying, Steve, shame on you. And
I
and,
hear
and
a
I'm,
commitment.
I'll be the heel of everybody's jokes. And so, but no, you know what, Mark, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an
Thank you.
absolute pleasure. And, everybody in that community, the Erudites community that said nothing but good things about you, they're completely right. You're very knowledgeable about what you talk about. And the other thing too, is you're always giving, like you're always just full of knowledge, just willing to share it. And for that, I definitely appreciate.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate the kind comments.
Awesome. And guys, thank you very much for joining us. This is the money. This is the mindset. This is the mentoring podcast. And we'll see you on the next one.